Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. Happy Sunday. Today I've got another bonus Sunday video for you guys. In addition to my regularly scheduled Tuesday and Friday videos, I'm trying to put out a video on Sunday that instead of a range video like most of my other ones, we're going to be talking about sometimes different articles that I've found that I think might be important to you guys. This one came across my homepage news feed on my computer, and it's one of those liberal kind of anti-gun written articles, but I've got a bit of a different take on it, and so we're going to go through that and see what you guys think. But before we get started, just want to thank everyone that's subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate it. So to get started, this article is called Proposed Assault Weapons Ban Includes Grandfather Clause Contrary to Social Media Posts. I thought that they weren't supposed to call them assault weapons anymore, according to the Associated Press, but let's move on. So the quick take is that the House passed a bill on July 29th that would make it a crime to knowingly import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon. Social media posts falsely claim millions of people will become felons overnight because of the bill. Under the bill, current owners of such firearms would be allowed to keep them. The full story here. On July 29th, the House passed H.R. 1808, the assault weapons ban of 2022, which would make it a crime to knowingly import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon, which now they're calling SAW or SAW, which to me has always been a squad automatic weapon, like that 249 SAW. But anyway, or large capacity ammunition feeding device, LCAFD, they're calling those now, with some exceptions. The bill was introduced in March, but didn't come up for a vote until after high-profile mass shootings this year that involved the use of AR-15 style semi-automatic rifles, including the May 24th massacre of 19 students and 2 teachers at a Texas elementary school. The bill is not expected to advance in the Senate. And that is the important thing. This bill isn't expected to pass the Senate, and that's a good thing. So don't freak out, but that isn't a reason not to be prepared. And I'm going to tell you what I think being prepared means in just a moment. The House bill includes a grandfather clause. So current owners of such firearms would be allowed to keep them. That's a good thing. The grandfather clause is similar to the 10-year ban that was included in the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. The ban expired in 2004. So that was the original assault weapons ban. And for during those 10 years, it was very, very difficult to find AR-15s, AKs, 30-round magazines, any of that kind of stuff. The stuff became ridiculously expensive if you could find it. And it was a major problem for the gun industry and for lawful gun owners, responsible gun owners. So, but posts on social media post falsely claim the bill would create millions of overnight felons. And they are correct about this. With that grandfather clause, if the bill passes in its current iteration, you would not become a felon overnight for owning things that you bought that were perfectly legal when you bought them. And that's how we're going to get to my point. But first, let's read what users on Twitter have to say. A user on Twitter says, "I've been getting replies saying this is the same ban from the 90s, and I'm pretty sure this one is more aggressive. Millions of people, including myself, would be overnight felons under this legislation, and millions of people, including myself, will also not be turning any guns in." I don't think that they're going to make us turn any guns in, but if they do pass this kind of stuff, that's the next step. It's like a ladder. If they can get one thing, they're going to get another. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So we have to do everything we can to make sure that this doesn't pass the Senate, because it has already passed the House, and that is closer than we want it to be already. But the bill would allow current owners to keep grandfathered semi-automatic assault weapons, or SAW, and large capacity ammunition feeding devices, or LCAFD. A summary of the bill states, the bill permits continued possession, sale, or transfer of a grandfathered SAW, which must be securely stored. A licensed gun dealer must conduct a background check prior to the sale or transfer of a grandfathered SAW between private parties. The bill permits continued possession of, but prohibits sale or transfer of, a grandfathered LCAFD, which is a magazine. So, this is what I'm saying. Even though this is not likely to pass the Senate, and it probably won't, and even if it did, it would probably get shut down by the Supreme Court, it's still important to be prepared. And there's ways that you can do that. So for one, make sure that if there's any AKs, ARs, any high capacity type of guns that you want, I would get them while you can, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to. But just in case, be prepared, because what happened between 1994 and 2004 is you really couldn't legally get them, and we don't want to be in that same situation again. The other thing is magazines. So for the guns that you already have that take any magazines higher than 10 rounds, make sure you're stocked up on those. And that includes AR magazines, AK magazines, Glock stick magazines, like for your PCCs. Even, this pistol right here has a 17 round capacity. So if you have any guns that have a higher than a 10 round capacity, make sure you're stocked up on magazines, so that therefore, if this thing passes, this one doesn't have a sunset built into it like the 1994 assault weapons ban. And so who knows when you might be able to get magazines again, because like it says here, you will, under this bill, still be able to transfer guns, but not magazines. And what good is a gun if you can't feed it? So make sure that you are prepared. And the best way to do that, it doesn't have to cost you a ton of money. Every time you go into the gun store to buy a box or two of ammo, pick up a magazine. It's going to cost you an extra $12 or something. And after a while, you're going to have plenty of them, just like I do. Get a variety of magazines. I like the Magpul P-Mags, Gen 2 and Gen 3. The Gen 2 are very affordable, and they're very reliable. They work great. So, it's worth getting those. I've got tons of AK mags. And, it's just good to have them just in case. Because, magazines do break and things happen. Gotta have backups. Backups on backups. 1 is none and 2 is 1, right? Anyway, let's finish this article. So those who already own firearms would not become felons and would be allowed to keep those guns they currently own. The bill would prevent them from buying new ones. So the other thing, lower receivers, because at this point, the lower, especially with like an AR or something, is the part that's considered a firearm. That's the serialized portion of the gun. So get your lowers now, and that way, if somehow this thing goes through, then you'll still be able to build out those ARs if and when you want to, because the rest of the parts, barrels, uppers, handguards, trigger grips, those things are currently not regulated in the same way that a lower is. So I'm actually picking up a lower for my next 300 blackout build on Tuesday, because I just want to make sure I'm able to do that build. Congress passed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act earlier this year to provide incentives to states to enact their own gun control measures. The legislation, which was sponsored by Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida and signed into law by President Joe Biden on June 24th, did not include any weapon bans. That's the end of this article. I hope you guys got a good takeaway from this, and you feel the same way I do. Like I said, very unlikely to pass the Senate, but just in case, be prepared. But in the meantime, do anything you can to make sure that this doesn't pass. Call your senators. Tell them that if they vote yes on this bill, that they will not be getting your vote come election time. So, from Sawtooth Tactical, Stay strapped or get clapped.